Okay, more problems and cost. This is chapter 4, problem 3, and this is AndrewsKayaks, and they're asking for, okay, we've got incomplete information up through January 31st. Okay, so we're looking at the month of January, I think, yeah. And then they've got us, they use a normal cost system, which makes sense, one indirect cost pool. And then we've got some T account balances here, and these, for materials, that would be a beginning balance. All right, in finished goods control, that would also be a beginning balance. And you might assume that these are beginning balances. Even this one, it's at the top of the T account, but this is an ending balance. Okay, that goofed me up the first time I did it. And this overhead control is also an ending balance. And then we've got a whole bunch of information here. So I've got to make more T accounts up. We can't use these because they're too squished. So if you want to print this problem, you can pause this and print this problem out. Just make sure you have it for to solve, okay? So I'm going to start out, drawing some T accounts. When you look at the information here, we've got overhead rate that we've got to fix, that we've got to do. We've got unfinished job, direct materials released, cost of goods completed, materials inventory, finished goods. So we need some T accounts, right? And what they're looking for are materials purchased, cost of goods sold, direct manufacturing labor cost, yada, yada, yada. Okay? The tricky one is this wages payable control. Because you're not exactly sure on how payroll is being done, but we'll figure that out. So the first thing is let's get some T accounts. So we've got direct material, and then work in process. This one should be pretty long. And finished goods. Finished goods. Then manufacturing overhead. Manufacturing overhead. Let's put, I'm going to put cost of goods sold under here. That's pretty fast. But then another one, a crazy wages payable one, we'll put this here. Wages payable. And what do we know so far? We know that the beginning balance for direct materials, the beginning balance is $30,000. Okay, work in process, they didn't give us, the work in process control doesn't have anything, so we'll leave that blank. Finished goods has a beginning balance of $40,000. Okay, beginning balance of $40,000. And then wages payable control, that's going to be an ending balance. Okay, an ending balance of $6,000. Okay, cost of goods sold is blank. Manufacturing overhead control. Manufacturing overhead is that's 131, so that's an ending balance of 114. I'm not dreaming here, am I? Okay, so I'm going to put it here because, oops, because there's more that's going to happen in here. Okay, we won't have just one number. So let's start putting some information in here. The first thing they give us is manufacturing overhead, a budgeted rate set in December. The forecast for next year's manufacturing costs is in next year's direct labor costs. So for overhead, for manufacturing overhead, we're going to have $1,200,000 of overhead costs, and that's going to be divided by $800,000 in direct labor costs. And it always throws us a little bit when it's dollars over dollars. So you want to say to yourself, for every dollar in direct labor, we're going to have, what is it going to be, $1.50 of overhead. Okay, so we'll just take our direct labor costs and multiply them times 1.5, and we'll have our overhead rate. Okay, so A is done. Now the next thing, the only job unfinished on January 31st is job number 419. So I'm going to make another T account for that. On which direct manufacturing labor costs are 4,000. So we've got direct labor of 4,000. Direct material costs are 16,000. And if our direct labor is 4,000, I'd multiply that times 1.5 and get applied overhead of 6,000. So this whole job has 26,000 in it. And they said that was the only unfinished job, so this would be equal to work in process, right? Okay, that would be the only unfinished job. Okay. Total direct materials issued to production during January are 180,000. So I'm going to take 180,000 out of direct materials and move it into production. Okay. Cost of goods completed during January is 360. So 360 would have come out of work in process. 360 goes out and goes into finished goods. Okay. What else do we know? Cost of goods completed is 360. Materials inventory as of January 31st is 40,000. Okay, so what do we know then? If this is 40,000 and this total is 180, then this must have been, that's 190. This must have been 120, right? Yeah. Because 120 minus 180? No, it's got to be more than that. It's got to be 220. 230. I'm really making a mess, aren't I? 230 minus 180, no, 220. Okay. All right, so this total would have had to have been 220, which means the purchases would have been 190,000. Okay, raw material purchases. So that's a derived number. Okay, they tell us the finished goods inventory on January 31st is 30,000. So my ending balance in finished goods inventory is 30,000. So that means that I would have had 400,000 here. So this would have to be 370, which means that 370,000 transferred out. Okay? And that would have gone into cost of goods sold. Okay? Now here's the crazy wages. All plant workers earn the same wage rate. And I think they had to figure that out someplace. Did they tell us what it was? Well, direct manufacturing labor used for January totaled 5,000 hours. Okay, 5,000 hours, and I think they make $16 an hour. I figured that out someplace. Where was it? How about this job? Yeah, for direct labor costs were $450 or $4,000 with 250 direct labor hours. So if we take 4,000 direct labor dollars and divide that by 250 direct labor hours, okay, that gives us $16 an hour. Okay, so for wages, they tell us, well, they've got a couple things here. Direct manufacturing labor hours used for January total 5,000 hours. So 5,000 hours would be times 16. 5,000 times 16 would be 180. Okay, and I'm down there, sorry. 180, so we've got to put, there we go. Work in process, we need 180, 5,000 times 16. All plant workers, direct manufacturing labor hours using 5,000 hours. Is that right? 5,000 hours? Let me just check. 5,000, oops. Oh, that's $80,000. That makes sense. I didn't think it was the same as that 180. So $80,000 here. That's for direct labor. And other labor costs total 20,000. So other labor, in other words, not direct labor. So I would put that, oh boy, I would think, you know, in my head it would go over in manufacturing overhead, except this is an ending balance. So I don't think they're giving us everything, but we know it would go in that wages payable for 20,000. And the gross plant payroll paid in January totals 104, and ignore withholdings. The payroll paid, okay, so they paid 104,000. That would come out. Okay, and that 80,000 of direct labor would also go in here. And wages payable. Okay. All actual manufacturing overhead cost incurred has already been posted. Okay, so that 114 is an ending number, and all materials are direct materials. Okay, so we don't have any indirect materials out there. So the first question is materials purchased in January. Let's see if I can slide this up a bit. So first, materials purchased would have been that 190,000. Okay, from the T account, the material T account. And next, cost of goods sold during January. Cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold would have been what comes out of finished goods, that 370, and goes into cost of goods sold, so that's 370. Direct manufacturing labor costs incurred in January. I'll say direct manufacturing labor costs incurred in January. That would have been what went into work in process. That would have been 80,000. That's 80,000. The balance and wages payable control. Okay, now this is tricky. The balance and wages payable control. Oh, in 2016. No, that's it, 1231. So what they want is the beginning balance. They're looking for what this number would have been. So if this is 104, and this end up to be 6,000, then this must have been 110. Okay, if that's your ending balance. So our beginning balance here then, if I've got 100 in there now, our beginning balance would have been 10,000. Can't see that, sorry. Okay, so if this is 104 and the ending balance is 6,000, then this has to be 110. So if that's 110 and I've got 100 in there, I've got another 10,000 to put in. Okay, so wages payable no. Did I skip one? Yeah, I did. So this is 5. This is beginning wages payable. Would have been 10,000. Now number four is manufacturing overhead allocated during January. Okay, how much overhead would have gone in here is 1.5, right? That's our rate. 1.5 times 1.5 times 80,000, so overhead would have been 120,000. Okay. $120,000, and then 6 is work in process control, January 31st. Okay. Oh, that's an interesting one. The balance in this in January 31st would have, they told us, would have had to, if we only have this one job left for 26,000, then that would have been my ending balance here. Okay, and we know that 360,000 went out, so this would have had to been 186, or no, 386, right? 386, yeah, 386. So what we have, let's see what we have in there now. We've got 180 plus 80 plus 120. I did something wrong. So it's 260 plus 120, 380. Okay, so our beginning balance would have had to have been 6,000. I'm going to raise the roof here. My beginning balance would have had to have been 6,000. That makes sense. Okay, so 6, the 1231. The 6,000, and then finally manufacturing overhead over allocated or under allocated. Okay, we allocated 120,000 here, which would mean I'm high here by 6, and we over allocated by 6,000, so that's 6,000 over. Okay, all right, that was a funny one. You've got information coming from all over the place, so that's it.